Our objective 7 here is to graph equations in standard form using our x and y intercepts. Our previous, not our objective 6, but our objective 5 was finding x and y intercepts from an equation in standard form. So if we were given an equation in standard form, we could find an x-intercept because we knew all of our x-intercepts had a y value of 0. And we could find a y-intercept because all of our y-intercepts had an x value of 0. So we're going to use that information, we're going to use that information to find our x and y intercepts. This part is entirely review from Tuesday. And then all we're going to do is use older view stuff. We're going to plot those points, connect them with a ruler, put an arrow on each side, and we're done. There's actually nothing new in this lesson. It's putting two old pieces of information together. All right? So this isn't difficult. We're just connecting the dots, as it were, and we're also going to literally connect the dots. So there we go. Our step 1. Step 1 is finding our x and y intercepts. We're going to express these today in coordinate point form. And I wrote this as a, comma 0, where a is the x value of our x-intercept. And then for our y-intercept, 0, comma b, where b is the y value of our y-intercept. And some of you may have seen in that one quizzes exercise where you were trying to type in the free response answers and it would tell you you were wrong and you're supposed to write b equals 8 or whatever. I want to let you know I went through and I manually graded if you typed just a number, if you gave it just 8. I told it to count that as correct. I added it to the answer key. I have not gone through and added the coordinate point version to the answer key because it's much more time consuming, but it will accept just typing the number for an intercept as correct. The reason it was using b is that when we are using a variable to represent a y-intercept, the special variable for a y-intercept is always b. A for the x-intercept, b for the y-intercept, right? So we start by finding those x and y-intercepts, and then our step 2, just looking ahead, is going to be to plot those points on the axes, and then step 3, our last step, will be to connect those points with a straight line. We want to always make sure a line, and this is looking ahead to geometry, goes infinitely in both directions, and we represent that with an arrow on each side. So we want to make sure we have those arrows on each side, and we go all the way across to the edges of the graph. In middle school, your teacher might have let you get away with doing just a tiny little line in the middle of the graph. Our lines need to go all the way across the coordinate line. Okay, so we're going to work an example here together. We need to, for step 1, find our x and y intercepts. So I'm going to split our work area up for an x-intercept and a y-intercept. Step 1. And there's something I can do to help myself kind of connect, remember, think about the goal I'm trying to get to. If I look ahead, what will my x-intercept as a coordinate point look like? It'll be a parenthesis. Then will I have a 0 first or some x value first? Some x value, so I'm going to leave that blank. Will I have a 0 next or some y value next? A 0, and then close parenthesis. I'm going to scroll this down for those trying to see from the back. Sometimes you think sitting in the back is so great, but it has its disadvantages. Yeah. All right. This also helps remind me that my x-intercept, the whole process is that I'm going to set y equal to 0 because this is my y equals 0 right down here in the coordinate point. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
I don't need your comment on it. I need you learning algebra. All right. So what does this, as our recap, what should my first step look like then for actually solving this problem? I will I'm doing this algebraically, right? So I have the equation. I need to set y equal to 0. So can you flip in your notes to objective number 5? This was what we did Tuesday. Number 5. Number 5 on your notes. Your notes are numbered. Yeah. So what did we do to find an x-intercept? What's that? We wrote the equation and made the y 0. So I'm going to bring down the equation 2x minus 5, but where I had that y, this is me. Oops, thank you very much. 2x, thank you, minus 5, but where I had a y, I'm going to replace that with the 0. That is setting y equal to 0. Is that a little bit easier to see the board? There we go. Right? What is negative 5 times 0? Okay, so that's done. Then I have 2x equals 10. What do I do to get x by itself? Divide both sides by 2. X equals. So what is my x-intercept in coordinate point form?
What's under the 10?
A 2. Parenthesis 5, comma 0. Parenthesis. And I boxed it. You can circle it on the inside, but you're going to box it on the paper. So like the little kid whose parent makes him sit down, he's like, but I'm standing on the inside. Okay, stand on the inside. Let's just box it on the paper. All right. Y-intercept. Let's look ahead. Let's plan ahead. What will my y-intercept look like as a coordinate point? I'll have a parenthesis, and then what will be in my first place? A y value or a 0? 0. Because my x value is always 0 for a y-intercept. It's on the y-axis. What will be in my y place? A y value or a 0? Okay, so that's the thing I'm going to solve for. I want to find a y value, which means I'm going to set x equal to 0. So I'm going to take this same equation, oops, bring it around this direction, the same equation, but this time I'm going to replace the x with 0. Two times 0 is 0. Negative 5y equals 10. Divide both sides. Yes, by my coefficient, that's the coworker of y. They're real close, buddy. Side by side cubicles. Negative 5. What does y equal? Negative 2. There we go. So my coordinate point form of this y-intercept is 0, comma, negative 2.
Teachers and students, please excuse this interruption. Teachers and students, please excuse this interruption. Just a quick reminder that today is the last day for Valentine's Candygrams. If you still haven't turned yours in, please drop it off at the front desk by the end of the school day. Again, today is the last day for Valentine's Candygrams, so please make sure to drop it off before you leave school. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. For step 2, we finished step 1. We found the x and y intercepts. That was the hardest part, and if you completed all of the homework, you've already practiced all of that.
Right.
You already know how to do that. So you know how to do the hardest part. The new part is that we plot those points. So if this is my y-axis and this is my x-axis, where will my x-intercept be? On the y-axis or the x-axis? It'll be on the x-axis, and it's positive 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, up, down, 0. So that's my first point, my first intercept. And I'm just going to label this for us. We won't do this on the IXL, but I want to see this is my x-intercept. And then where will my y-intercept be? On the y-axis, negative. So negative 2 means I'm going down 1, 2. That was step 2. Done. I plotted the points. There are 2 points. I've plotted them both. Step 3, Step 3 is I'm going to draw a line through the 2 points. Now, if you have a ruler or an extra piece of paper, you can do this on paper. When you do this for a paper quiz or test, there are specific things I'm looking for. It needs to go, in fact, mine is a little too short here. I want to see this go all the way off each edge of the graph, and it needs to have the little arrows, all right, because lines extend all the way. And then, what is that?